playing with variables and environment variables. In the previous video, we learned about printing in the terminal. In this video, we're going to see how to play with variables and environment variables. Variables are essential components of every programming language, and are used to hold varying data. Scripting languages usually do not require variable type declaration before its use, as they can be assigned directly. In Bash, the value for every variable is string, regardless of whether we assign variables with quotes or without quotes. Furthermore, there are variables used by the shell environment and the operating environment to store special values, which are called environment variables. Variables are named with the usual naming constructs. When an application is executing, it will be passed a set of variables called environment variables. To view all the environment variables related to a terminal, issue the env command. For every process, environment variables in its runtime can be viewed by set PID with a process ID of the process. PID always takes an integer value. For example, assume that an application called gedit is running. We can obtain the process ID of gedit with the pgrep command, as shown here. You can obtain the environment variables associated with the process by executing the command which is showing here. Note that many environment variables are stripped off for convenience. The actual output may contain numerous variables. The aforementioned command returns a list of environment variables and their values. Each variable is represented as a name equals value pair and are separated by a null character, /0. If you can substitute the /0 character with /n, you can reformat the output to show each variable equals value pair in each line. Substitution can be made using the tr command as shown here. Now let us see how to assign and manipulate variables and environment variables. Let's see how to do it. Var is the name of a variable, and value is the value to be assigned. If value does not contain any space character, such as space, it need not be enclosed in quotes, and otherwise it is to be enclosed in single or double quotes. Note that var space equals space value and var equals value are different. It is a usual mistake to write var equals value instead of var equals value. The latter one is the assignment operation, whereas the earlier one is an equality operation. Printing contents of a variable is done by prefixing $ with the variable name as. We will receive an output as. We can use variable values inside printf or echo in double quotes. Now the output will be. Environment variables are variables that are not defined in the current process, but are received from the parent process. For example, http_proxy is an environment variable. The variable defines which proxy server should be used for an internet connection. Usually, it is set as. The export command is used to set the env variable. Now, any application executed from the current shell script will receive this variable. We can export custom variables for our own purposes in an application or shell script that is executed. There are many standard environment variables that are available for the shell by default. For example, path. A typical path variable will contain. When given a command for execution, the shell automatically searches for the executable in the list of directories in the path environment variable. Directory paths are delimited by the : character. Usually, $path is defined in /etc/environment or /etc/profile or ~/.bashrc. When we need to add a new path to the path environment, we use these commands. Or alternatively, we can use Here we have added /home/user/bin to path. Some of the well-known environment variables are home, pwd, user, uid, shell, and so on. When using single quotes, variables will not be expanded and will be displayed as. This means whereas $echo $var will print the value of the $var variable if defined, or nothing at all if it is not defined. Let's see more tips associated with standard and environment variables. Finding the length of a string and get the length of a variable value using the command. For example, the length parameter will bear the number of characters in the string. Identifying the current shell. To identify the shell which is currently being used, you can use the shell variable, like so. For example, checking for superuser. UID is an important environment variable that can be used to check whether the current script has run as a root user or regular user. For example, the UID value for the root user is 0. Modifying the bash prompt string. Bracket username at hostname : $, close bracket. When we open a terminal or run a shell, we see a prompt string such as user at hostname : /home/$. Different GNU/Linux distributions have slightly different prompts and different colors. We can customize the prompt text using the PS1 environment variable. The default prompt text for the shell is set using a line in the ~/.bashrc file. We can list the line used to set the PS1 variable as follows. To set a custom prompt string, enter the following command. We can use colored text using special escape sequences such as /e *1:31, referring to the printing in the terminal recipe of this chapter. There are also certain special characters that expand to system parameters. For example, /u expands to username, /h expands to hostname, and /w expands to the current working directory. Awesome! In this video, we've successfully learned how to play with variables and environment variables. In the next video, we'll make function to prepend to environment variables.